the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views.
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
Sports.
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
And music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.
Welcome to another one. This is Africa's Leaders in Sustainability. Of course, we bring you the best leaders that are change makers, trailblazers, that are doing the most in this beautiful continent of ours. It's very big, and we will keep going up until we cover it from Cape to Cairo. But right now, we are in Nigeria. We are covering one of our Africa's leaders, which is Temitope Kolade, powerhouse in Nigeria, leader in Nigeria. You know, people up to Temi. I look up to Temi. Continent looks up to Temi. Everyone looks up to everyone who's in the sustainability space. So we're on Vuga Radio.za, and yes, of course, tell your friends, tell your family members, and tell everyone, your colleagues, your schoolmates, that we are live. And we are also, you'll find us on YouTube as well, Vuga Online Radio, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, anywhere you can think of, you'll find us there. On a billboard outside your house, on the freeway, you'll find us there. Vuga Online Radio. This is Africa's Leaders in Sustainability, and I'm DJ Hotlane. Thank you. So now, without further ado, tell me, please tell them more about you. Tell the world who you are. Tell the world why you are here on this show, and what. Just share what you want to be heard about you and the work that you do.
Okay, thanks, DJ Hotlane. Again, my name is Temitope Kolade. I reside in Lagos, Nigeria. And why am I here? I'm here to talk about sustainability. My journey about sustainability started a couple of years ago when, as a young man, I was aspiring, number one, to be a medical doctor, right? But for whatever reason, that didn't quite work out. So I ended up studying a course that is called wildlife management. Many people who have visited maybe the Joburg Zoo and have been there. You visited some zoos around the world, you'd appreciate what wildlife is about. But it's not just what wildlife is about, because what people don't realize is that wildlife management, it's more than managing the wild. It's actually about managing people, because in the long run, when you go to the parks, whether it's the national park, Serengeti National Park, or whichever parks across the world, what you would find is that people actually live around the wild. And what is happening at the moment is that some people feast on these wild animals for their living. What does that mean for us? It means that at some point, we might just wipe these things out. When we wipe them out, what happens to us as humans? So there is a concept of profits, planet, and people, right? Human beings are naturally self-centered, right? And sometimes when you continue to do things and you feel like it's all about you, you will not have any of the things that support you anymore. So as much as we think the animals so we need the animal.
Okay.
So where do we go from here?
So You mentioned yeah. So tell me, your experience, your background is amazing, man, and we got cut off there a little bit. So I think we'll continue with that. But I think this will give me as well the chance to catch what I caught before I missed a few things that you mentioned. And in terms of sustainability, how assisting companies and business to make sustainable decisions, Tammy, to making sure that in their financial budgets and projections that nature and sustainability is included. That for me is very key. As far as I'm concerned, how I in business, taking money that does not generate profits can be very challenging for businesses. For some businesses, some companies that have been doing the same thing over years. For example, I have an example which is the mind cold carbon emissions left and center, and now telling them no. That money, some has, like they didn't know. Why also? Working people are buying the cars, so it's not only the companies that you need to blame. People that are actually the and so that it's.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Ability, determine finance, sustainability, but and of course, Temitope just went straight to it, giving us more information about how he's changing the world, his involvement, and how his experience in wildlife conservation and nature conservation encouraged him to actually to make a difference in sustainability using their money, because he's in finance. So you probably have his money and putting it back to nature. But yeah, so tell us how is that working out for you? Like I mentioned before we went on a break, one would argue, why should we use our finance for nature when it can regenerate itself? Was it recorded? Okay, perfect.
Should I just go on?
Yeah, let's go on, man.
Okay. If people begin to think about it, even from a point of self-interest, to realize that the way to future-proof your business is actually to do things for nature and with nature in consideration. Apparently, people will typically want to do things a little differently. I mean, but then, how do I convince companies, and how has it been so far? Good thing is that we have the government. The government typically would help to give out some regulations. For instance, in Nigeria, we now have something that is called the National Climate Change Council. And what does that do? The regulator basically is expected to then go around the companies and say, you know what? We need to see your plan for nature, more or less. We need to see your plan in terms of everything that you're doing and what your budget is. You need to actually appoint a sustainability officer, right? So what I help companies to do is to say, you know what, we can draft a strategy that is basically looking at your environmental, your social, and your governance pillars as a company, and then how you then ensure that your business is future-proof. It is something that will not continue, and then before you know it, everything is wiped out. And think about it this way. We have oil and gas companies that will think that will continue to exploit oil for the long run. The truth is that at some point, you will find that Elon Musk, who is producing Tesla, is saying, you know, I'm going to rely on more and more renewable energies to ensure that these cars are driven, so they're going to be more of electric vehicles. You go to Volkswagen, it says to you that at such and such a time, say by 2030, I'm reducing the number of vehicles that I'm going to be producing that will rely so much on petrol, right? Or PMS or gasoline, as the case may be. So again, businesses are taking a different view as to how they want to align in the future. So if you are a business that you're into oil and gas production, you must think about it that at some point you might not have people to patronize you anymore. I say it this way, that the reason why we're no longer in the Stone Age is not necessarily because stones are no longer available. I'm sure you've got stones everywhere around you. Stone Age, everything happened with stones. People built with stones. People lit fire with stones. People did everything trying to get stones to do it. Now we have gone to an age where it was just about oil. The issues between Russia and Ukraine is fight over resource. The issues around Israel and Iran over resource and all of that. And we're getting gradually to the age where it's going to be so much about data, right? So you might still have so much oil in the ground, but then there are no people to patronize them anymore, because people are saying, you know what, across the world, we need to go beyond just oil, because we see that that's polluting to the environment. So it's, again, think about it from the point of your own business. If it's an oil and gas business, whether it's even a vehicle business, and you need to think about it this other way, that the reason why you don't have these cameras, whether it's Kodak or Nokia phones, going everywhere anymore, is not because those businesses basically stopped producing. The reason is because they had people who innovated, who went into innovation ahead of all of those regular ways of doing things. Digital photography is now what it is. How many times do you have to hire a professional photographer to do stuff for you? Most times you just go with your phone and you're fine with it. So again, it's about businesses thinking about it from a point of self-interest and say, how do I get into the future ahead of every other competitor? And one way to look at it is to ensure that you embed sustainability into what you do. So if you think about it that way, I get businesses to say, you know what, let's have you work for us in terms of drafting a strategy that looks into the future and takes nature into consideration, takes sustainability pillars, and of course, some of the conversations that are around those into the picture, so that we are ready for the future and we are the business that people want to work with. And again, the good thing about sustainability is that it's not just about the nature in itself, it's also about people, right? There is a social side of things, for instance, that says, you know what, we've got to also look at how we treat people, employee relations, also very important, right? The governance also has to take the grade it should go. So a couple of things that would make any forward-thinking business to say, you know what, we need to do things in a sustainable manner, and they'll be ready to commit their monies to doing it.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that, and which is it's good. It's good the direction that it's taking actually. But of course, there's always self-serving interests everywhere. There's self-serving interests everywhere, from anyone who's trying to make a difference. And you find, and I hear what you're saying in terms of us progression and moving on to this revolution. This is a revolutionary time that we're living in, and it's very, very crucial for everybody to be on board and to change and to innovate as well, so that to reconnect with who we are as human beings, rather than be taken away by this artificial and technology. And yeah, I don't want to have an experience. I watched the movie I, Robot, tell me. I don't know if you watched it. I watched the movie so many times. It scared me a lot of times because of roboting us, drive us somewhere else, you know. So we are going there, but we need, in order for us to not be wiped out, like you said, like the previous previous ages, we need to work hand in hand with nature and not force it to make robots. That's a special job that you're doing. And I'll give you my money.
I'll gladly take it.
So tell me, yeah, actually, let's go on a break. Let's go on a quick break just for a couple of seconds. Let's pay the bills. We'll be back.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Welcome back. This is Africa's Leaders in Sustainability. Temitope Kolade, Lagos, Nigeria. Change maker. Yes, always bringing you the best youth, best of the best here in the internet, right here, Africa's Leaders in Sustainability. On Fuganda.radio.co.za, of course. Every Saturday, 1 o'clock to catch me. Yeah. So we've got Terry. We're speaking about innovation. We're speaking about revolution. We're speaking about sustainability. We're speaking about human preservation, self-preservation. We're speaking about money, you know, how to use your money, how to make wise decisions, how to invest how you use your money so that you can, stay ahead of the game. But tell me, let's show the average person on the ground. Like you said, those this show is also about giving information, making sure that this information that you bring, this knowledge that you have, is accessible to the average person on the ground, who only has a smartphone, does not have an opportunity for education, does not have an opportunity for any opportunity that would allow them these opportunities that we have, Temi. So I would want to say, you discovered this a couple of years ago, you mentioned. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Also, this is a video show that I started this year. So we could say we're getting into it. We're getting into it. Now, what would your advice be to a young person looking to enter into this sustainability space, who won't have access to education, won't access to tertiary education, who doesn't have mentors like yourself around the environment? What would you say to them? How would you advise them? Just give them some guidance, because they're here, they're listening.
Okay, great. I think it's about knowing what's around you. There is always a place to start. The union discuss sustainability, and that's because they organized an event and they're in the university. But let's take it away from there and say, oh, indeed, they don't have access to tertiary education. Do they have access to secondary education, to primary education? Again, the curriculum sometimes doesn't fit into this. But I remember very well that in Nigeria, for instance, where we have something that is called the National Youth Service Corps. So what happens is that once you're done like a community service, a national service, and primary schools, secondary schools, teach them why it was necessary, and all of those. And the primary schools and secondary schools.
Tell me, the network is the network.
And so they've got some listening to us at this point is saying I need to do. There are organizations, for instance, that are going to welcome you and here. One way to start making things happen for yourself is by volunteering. And I'm sure if you check where 1, 2, 3 places you're going to find place now is it about maybe walking in the zoo or walking in the boat? When I visited the Botanic Garden right there in Cape Town, and you would find that if we have young people visit those places, maybe they will be inspired by nature as well, to just understand how serene and how calm and how cool those places are, and how indeed it should be better than the life in the city center where it's the hot sun that is coming directly on your head, right? And the truth is that you got cancer of the skin and several other things, has its downsides and of course its upsides. So really it's about opening the mind up and saying, I want to learn. It's not really about going to school. There are people who go to school and the school doesn't really pass through them. That means they don't learn so much from going to school. So you could be listening to us right now and then I want to be a change maker and I want to key into the issues around sustainability. How do you do that? Find a place to volunteer, find a place to lend a hand on matters that would have impact nature, that would impact on people, that would impact on things looking at the bigger picture and not just something about making the gains for today and then everything crumbles and then you don't find that thing able to take care of your needs just anymore. In this part of the quick funds, we want quick money, and we're not making so much change in our society. And so you know what, if you follow your passion most of the time, you would find that over time you're going to reap the rewards for it. So develop a passion for helping nature, for helping people around you, and ensuring that sustainability is, that means you can even read so much about the changes that you're making around the society. So really, I think the ball is in everyone's court to say, I want to make a change. How does that happen, whether in governance, whether in the private sector or in your local community? You can start doing things. There are certain things, for instance, if you want to plant trees, I'll give you an experience. Say in one of the states in Nigeria, Anambra State, it's called, right? One of the things I did when I was going to plant the trees, I went to the Ministry of Environment. I never knew them. I just said to them, I wanted to plant trees. Please give me some trees to plant. And they did. They obliged me. So they gave me seedlings. And we went ahead and planted them. So you'll be surprised at how many people are ready to say, writing your name in gold.
Wow, you're making very powerful words, very inspirational words, motivational words, and you nailed it spot on. And I couldn't have said it better myself. I was one of those kids, you know, that nothing made sense in school. Some of the things did make sense, but there was always that something missing. But we'll come back. Just one last break before we wrap up the show. We'll come back. Thank you, Tim. That's pause for a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to Africa's Leaders in Sustainability. You're the special people out here, to be honest. You know, you guys are giving us attention, you're giving us time, you're sharing, and making sure that this information is spread across everyone. And really much appreciation. And that's when, as we wrap up the show, of course, I was saying with Temi, I was one of those kids where there was always something missing, you know. I did not know what at the time because I was not exposed to this information. I didn't know what volunteering was, you know. Some projects that we had in schools was projects where we clean the windows. You'd plant vegetables. You'd have a vegetable garden. You'd have a healing garden with plants, etc. And like these friends of mine back, and sometimes there were extra murals. Sometimes there were some form of punishment for not actually supposed to do it. And we also conducted beach cleanups, environmental community cleanups. What I'm sensing is that between the punishment and the extramural activity, what stood out the most in society is the punishment aspect of it. That when you pick up papers, you're a certain type of person, you're a certain type of place in the society, that you're not a part of this community that's superficial, that's money getting, that's, you know, what's to drive, etc. And that causes a sort of like a delayed backtrack in society, and which delayed from me for quite some time. but it's never too late to start. It's not late to make a difference. And Shemi, I'd like to hear from you. What in closing, from what we spoke about, from innovation to volunteering to preserving nature, what are your closing statements? What would you like to share?
Okay.
Straight from the heart.
Okay, straight from the heart. The change that you want begins with you, right? And when I say the change begins with you, very many times we like to point fingers as to what someone is not doing, what others can do, right? Right. But you need to understand that there is a place of you in nature, and the place that you occupy really in nature and in the whole of the universe is to make a difference, and make a difference starts with you. They typically have the change begins with you, right? And it's so true because someone would say to me that if you point one finger to some persons, you have three pointing back at you. You know what? Some people would say, oh, it's four fingers that come back at you, but indeed it's just three fingers because the thumb doesn't come back at you, right? You're pointing the index finger and then the three others pointing back at you. So at any point you feel like something is not giving, something is not happening as it should happen, ask yourself what you can do differently about those things. And it doesn't matter. It's not so much about your education. You can draw so much inspiration as to the leaders who have gone before us and some contemporary leaders, that there is something good that you can learn from them. And you would find that there is something that you must do differently. Just being a responsible citizen, it starts from there. And then from there, taking initiative to say, you know what, there is something that I must do around me. And you don't have to go on the streets to start planting trees. You can start within your house. Fruit trees, for instance, you probably won't find that very that. Right, you them the need to manage waste and to do proper waste management. So there are several things that you can do with just taking an action. So don't ideate all day. Start doing something.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for the knowledge that you've shared us, the time that you've given to share about nature, conservation, and innovation, and financial sustainability. Actually, opened up a different ports on the mind about how companies actually making a difference, and we shouldn't be blaming. I hope every listeners out there are also catching on to what we are trying to bring to them, and they're sharing this knowledge with their fellow neighbors, fellow friends. And this is me, DJ Hotlane, bringing this information to the world. This is Africa Leadership Ability. This is for online radio. This is Temitope Kolade from Nigeria, Lagos, to the world, Africa to the world, telling the world what to do, fix it. Let's go back. Henry Ford said, we can make a mistake, but we learn from the mistake. Once we learn from that mistake, we have an opportunity to redo that more intelligently. So let's keep on right again. To me, salute. Thank you, Terry, for your time.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.